All right, guys, we're going to get started. This is John Mad Dog Hall, and he's going to be presenting on Project Go On.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Morning. Morning.
I'd like to know a little bit about my audience before I get started. So how many of you are university students or college students, whatever you want to call it? Okay. And how many of you are in the computer industry? Okay. All right. So this is called Project Caua, a business of your own. You pronounce it Caua. It is a Tupi Indian word from Brazil because it stands for eagle. And the Brazilians have the largest eagle in the world. We'll go a little bit more into that as we go along. This slide tells you who I am. Basically, I've been in computers since 1969. I've worked for a wide variety of different companies, wide variety of different jobs, and that's about all you need to know about me. For the past 30 years, I've been using this background as my slides as I go around the world giving talks. I've been to over 100 different countries, most of them more than one time. And I'll tell you that as I go around the world, I found out one thing. You talk to the person on the street, and all they want is a good life for themselves, a better life for their children, and to be left alone by the government. There are some problems. Now, in a lot of universities around the world, state and federal universities in places like Latin America and Europe, the university is tuition free for students who are qualified. Now, I love Bernie Sanders. He always left that off when he was talking about free university. But it's for qualified students, students who worked really hard in high school. They passed the really hard entrance exams, and they fit into the slots that were available in those schools. And if the slots weren't there, well, they had to wait the next year, or maybe they would go to a private university or something like that. But if you got in there, the tuition was free. The problem is that about 40% of the students who qualified still could not take advantage of it because their parents were too poor to pay for the room and board away from the family, too poor to pay for the computers, the internet, the books, the things like that. And so 40% of the qualified students could not take advantage of the program. In addition to that, sometimes the oldest sibling in the family has started to work at the age of 15, and they were bringing in money for the family. And so if they went to university, that money stopped. And that was another reason why they didn't take advantage of it. Sometimes they would work as night clerks at hotels or flipping hamburgers or stuff like that. There's nothing wrong. Those are jobs. They pay money. People need to have it done. But that's not what the students were going to school for. They were going to school for computer science or computer engineering or information science. And so they weren't really learning there on the job. And so often the students would simply give up. And I knew one woman, she was within 2 courses of getting her bachelor's degree, and she simply gave up because it was too hard for her. Okay? And because of this, you're not getting the best students out of this program. You're getting the wealthiest students. Now, users of computers, they also have some problems because, quite frankly, we're weird, okay? We are. We like computers. We like working with computers. We think computers are great. But there's a lot of people who actually hate computers, okay? And they think of computers as the biggest thing standing between themselves and success. And typically, these people are small business people. And it's just they need computers to do their work. And they can't afford to pay for full-time systems administrators. So they try and get past, and sometimes they have online services they call for help and things like that. But they have no advocate for themselves to help them do their business better. There's nobody they can talk to that's for them, not for a computer company or something else, okay? And they don't even know about low or no cost solutions because the people that come to visit them to sell them things, they're there to sell them things, right? And they don't want them to be using free stuff because they won't get paid for the free stuff. And that's the small business person, that about 86% of the business in the United States is small business, small to medium business. And homeowners are even worse. They're simply clueless about anything, and they're at the mercy of people selling them stuff. And so after 50 plus years in the computer industry, I realized that people don't really buy computers. And they don't buy software. They don't buy hardware. They don't buy software. What they are is buying a solution to a problem. And even if you're a gamer and you're just playing games on your computer, that's the problem you want to solve. It just so happens that computers are very good for playing games. So in 2015, 10 years ago this year, I had a student come up to me and say, maddog, how can I make money with free software? And I started into my normal talk about business models and stuff like that, and paying for services, and then software is free, but then I realized he wasn't asking about in general. He was asking about himself. How could he make software, make money? And because of that, I started on this program called Project Caua. And I wanted to have a nonprofit that would help students make money for university, not one huge nonprofit with millions of students, but millions of small businesses that would have one or two students in each business. And it would be worldwide. And I would start it. Now, a lot of people think, oh, maddog, how are you going to do this? Right? This is crazy talk. Well, I've been in this business from 1969. Back in those days, you needed $250,000 to buy a VAX 11780, and you needed a place to put it. You needed electricity, and you needed to put together an engineering team to come up with a solution, and all this stuff. And then you had to market it, so you needed even more money to do marketing because you had to buy stuff on TV or in magazines and stuff like that. Oh, this money, 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 and that's where you had started going to the vulture capitalists. Okay, the people that would take only 25 or 30% of your business for them to lend you the money to get started. And then later on, you sold off the rest of your business and the rest of your control to people who only wanted to make money. They didn't even know what you made. Okay, they didn't care. They wanted to make money. And there's nothing wrong with making money. I'm fine with that. But it's not the best way to have a business. And so today is different. You can get a Raspberry Pi. You can have cooperation in creating the bulk or even all of your solution. And all you have to do is put the two of them together and go out and find a customer and convince them to buy it. Okay? And that's what Project Caua is all about. It's what Bernie Sanders called democratic socialism. Most of us call it employee-owned cooperative. That's what we are. Now, some students I talked to have been working with computers since the age of 8. Okay, how many of you started with computers before 16? Before 15? How many of you started working with computers when you were younger than 8? I knew a kid, he put together the first distribution that installed into the fat file system of Windows. He was 10 and a half. He sold 20,000 copies before his parents found out what he was doing. And they said, why didn't you tell us? He said, I really didn't need your help. So, but these kids know how to change a disk. They know how to install new software. They know how to put in a patch. They know how to do all this stuff. But yet you ask them what they know, and they'll say, I don't know anything. Because for them, they don't know anything. And they start up maybe a fix and repair business in their neighborhood, and that's the way they're going to make money. And the problem with that is that you can't really control when people are going to bring their computers to you. You don't have control over the money coming in, so you can't count on that to pay for your rent every month or whatever, okay? So that's really a bad way to do this. It's much better to have a service contract with a small business person and say, I'm going to come in and take care of your computer. I'm going to straighten out all this wiring. I'm going to get your printer to work. It hasn't worked ever since you bought it. And, and I'm going to set up Wi-Fi so that you can have Wi-Fi for your customers and they won't break into your Wi-Fi. I can do all that stuff. And all you have to do is pay me a little bit of money every month. I'll come in once a week and look at all your error logs, make sure your disk isn't filling up, stuff like that. And you do that with 5 or 6 customers. And in Brazil, you can make enough money to pay for your apartment, your internet, your books, and stuff like that, and even have some money left over to send home to your family. It's different in different countries, I'll admit that. But what the students don't know, they know all the technical stuff. They can do all that stuff. But what they don't know is how to start a business, how to sign up in their jurisdiction for a business, get it started, and how to write a contract, and how to do advertising, and how to find customers. They don't know any of that stuff, and that's where Project Caua comes in. So the typical person that I run into is on the left-hand side, tape holding their glasses together and stuff like that, and we need to turn them into entrepreneurs. So we call them Project Caua professionals, PCPs, and they are either high school, we want to start them in high school, gain them used to doing this. They can find customers in their area of their high school and where they live. And then by the time they get to university, they'll know how to do it. They know how it works. They'll have it down solid, and they'll be able to take off from there. It's not a break and fix business. It's a contract business, okay? And the students will be doing this local to either where the university is or where they're living in that area for the university. Now, I estimate 4 hours per contract per week would allow them to look at all of the error logs, make sure the systems are up and going. Might be a little bit of upfront work, getting the wiring set up, stuff like that, or other types of things. We'll get into the other types of things later. But after that, 4 hours a week. So that's 24 hours a week that they're doing this part-time work. The rest of the time, they could be studying for the university. And they may have to extend the university cycle to 5 years instead of 4, but at least they'll finish. And on their resume, they'll be able to say, I did all this stuff. I have all these customers. I am dependable. Hire me. So now, after we did a couple pilots of this, and I have done a couple pilots of this, the students came to me and said, Mad Dog, we really need a product to sell. We would, service is fine, but we'd like to have a product that we can sell so that we can then service it afterwards. So then I started thinking about this and said, hey, Raspberry Pi. I mean, this talk is being recorded on a Raspberry Pi, okay? And a Raspberry Pi has plenty enough power, especially Raspberry Pi 5 with PCIe. You kidding me? I can get 3,800, megabytes of data through the PCIe, going and recording and stuff like that. It is a bear of a system. Now, I've also been working on a project down in Brazil called Caninos Loucos, which stands for Crazy Canines. And the project was to design, set up supply lines, everything for creating a single board computer. That's a picture of it right there, the Labrador. And Labrador is a friendly dog, so we started with the Labrador first. And we put Debian on it. So Debian runs on the Raspberry Pi, Debian runs on the Labrador. Now you have a platform, it's strictly Debian. Okay, so anything you can do with Debian, you can set it up for some type of product to go through. I'll start showing you some of the products. The other thing we needed was a worldwide website that people could go to, learn about the system, learn about how it works, learn about what it does. And that's going to be in the topmost level. On the front page, when you get in there, you're going to see all that stuff. Very simple talk, okay? The second level is going to have 180 different entries for 180 different countries around the world. And each country is going to have a module that will give you a sample contract for a service level agreement, sample marketing materials in the language of that country. Okay, so you'll be able to pull these down on a PDF, print them off, stick them up on bulletin boards and stuff like that. And you'll be able to point to this to your customers and say, yes, we're serious. This is what we're going to do for you. And then underneath of each country, we're going to have local modules for mentors to sign up. these are going to be volunteers. Now, in the United States, we have these things, volunteers for business people who have retired and stuff like that coach people. You'll have college professors who work and say, "Hey, I'll coach people in how to start a business and stuff like that." This is the mentor who's going to go in and help these students gain the courage, if you want, or the confidence is a better term, to be able to do this work. And there's little tricks to doing this. We're going to put videos up there to show the mentors how to do the tricks, how you get the students to understand that they do know something, that they can do this work, and that they'll go out and they'll find potential customers for these by going to places like the Rotary Club or a small business association or small hotel association, and doing a presentation on the program to these business people and say, would you, as a business person, be willing to hire one of these students? And when they raise their hands, they'll say, oh, give me your business card. And when they go back to the students, they'll say, hey, I'm not saying he's going to, but why don't you go to this person first? It's a magician's trick. It's forcing a card on you, okay? We do tricks to get this to work. And that's what the mentors are doing. Over time, the students who do this project first and are successful, they'll become the mentors for the students afterwards. So what type of products do we have to start out? And I'll go over each one of them in turn. Okay? We've got several. So Odoo, how many of you are familiar with Odoo? Good. Okay. How many of you actually do business with Odoo? Okay. What type of business do you do? An accountant. Okay. You, sir. So does LPI. You know, separate from everything I've done with this, LPI said, we're going to use Odoo as our ERP system, Enterprise Research Planning System. It does things like you can set up a simple website. You have inventory management. You have your customer management systems and stuff, all built inside of Odoo, all working off an open database. Odoo itself is a backplane that you can stick different modules into for the types of work you need, and it's all open source. There's an Odoo commercial company, and the commercial company, the last time I looked at them, we're installing about 1,000 Odoo systems a day into the world environment. Odoo has been compared to SAP and Oracle, okay? And maybe it doesn't have all the bells and whistles of SAP and Oracle, but it has a lot of them. And not only that, it's way, way less expensive and way more open. So if you, as a customer, need to have something done to the Odoo system, you can either hire somebody to do it for you, or you can try doing it yourself. And now they have this student who will go in there, learn something about Odoo, and probably be able to do the work themselves. If not, most countries have 5 or 6 companies who provide Odoo support over the network. And if the student can't do the work, they can subcontract to these companies, because this will be outside the bounds of their contract. They'll be able to subcontract to the companies to get the work done for their customer. And so I went to some of these companies before I started this project. I said, this is what I'm going to do. Would you like to have this done? Oh, please, please. Sao Paulo is the second largest city in the Western Hemisphere. When one of our customers has a problem, we stick one of our people in the car. They drive 4 hours across the city, find out the mouse is unplugged, and drive 4 hours back. If we had your student, they'd be able to go there and talk with the customer and plug in the mouse. It would save us lots of time and money. Please do this. This is the one thing that every company wants to have. An unsalaried, commission-based sales force. Think about that. Unsalaried, commission-based sales force. The more you sell, the more money you make. Okay. But still, this is their company. Okay? It runs on Debian. You can find all of the Odoo components inside of Debian, or you can pull it down from the Odoo site itself. here is a picture. That one on the left is a traditional point of sale ERP system. You've seen these all the times. Every fast food you go into, every libraries, everything have this type of a system, except they typically buy it from Oracle or Hewlett Packard, and it's $30,000 to start. And every time you win a small fix, it's another $30,000. I know. Okay. On the other hand, on the right is a simple Odoo system setup with a scanner, a cash drawer, a printer, and an LCD panel. And you can set up everything you want for a small business in that. You can also order all of the parts over the internet. You can put them together. And what we're going to do, what our project will do, is make sure that all the parts you order work with Odoo. So all you have to do is plug it in and then program the screens that you want to come up for the customer. So that was Odoo. And I think you can see the business model of that. We're going to tell the students to go to the licensing office for the people that are opening up small businesses, find out where they're opening up, find out who the contact is, and then sell them the Odoo system before they go to Oracle or Hewlett Packard. Sorry, Larry Ellison of Oracle. Yeah, my heart bleeds for him. So the next thing we're going to be doing is a small, secure server. Now, I won't lead you into a discussion of politics, but I'll say that this has drawn a lot more attention recently than it had in past years. That people, I love my country. I love my country. But quite frankly, when you go down to Latin America, they don't share the love. When you go to Europe, they don't share the love. When you go to Canada, they definitely don't share the love right now. And they are worried about what's going to happen for all these companies with clouds that's under the legal control of the United States. And so for the last 15, 20 years, I've been telling them, you need to have control over what happens in your country. What would happen if I snapped my fingers like this and all of the computer systems disappeared off the face of the earth? Planes would fall from the sky, traffic jams would happen all over, banks would be broken into, police departments would fall apart. A country has to be in control of everything that is made up. And if you don't believe that, I have a pager system for you to buy in Iran. So there's this project called Freedom Box. It was started by a person named Eben Moglen. Eben was a lawyer and professor at Columbia University. And about 15 years ago, he started to feel that people needed a small server at home that they could plug in to put the most private of things. Cat pictures, go ahead and put them up on Google, who cares? But your credit card numbers, your Venmo accounts, stuff like that need to be in a secure place. And so he started a project called freedombox.org. A lot of great people have worked on this. About 3 years ago, they came out with version 1.0 that people could buy a small Raspberry Pi or some other server and be able to know everything about it, even the boot code. And so all of this software has been, again, worked into Debian. So you install Debian, you have access to all of the Freedom Box code. Now, that's your small server. It also has a display panel that you can go in and easily set up your own VPN, easily set up your own DNS server, easily set up all this stuff. Is it mom and pop easy? No, I'll admit that right off the bat. But for anybody in this room, you would find it easy, okay? Now, on top of that, you could put Nextcloud, an open cloud service. And now you can share your file systems and stuff around your house and stuff like that. You put on a little bit of strong storage, like MMVE, and you can have a fast server with just a Raspberry Pi. And then you can put the Fediverse software on it to create, utilities and stuff a lot like Facebook, Mastodon, okay, I have problems with the names, Diaspora, okay, all these type of services you can put on there. And now you have a community server that you can have a small community of people working off of it and not sending all of your information back to the United States. Oh, all right, but I left out one thing. I'm a big fan of multi-factor authentication, not two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication. I mean, in order to log into my system, I have to be in a certain place at a certain time. I have to have my fingerprint work. I have to have my facial recognition work. And I have to have my little key stuck in there to show that it's me. Okay? And you can do all of this with Debian. And there's various other keys out there like YubiKey, but YubiKey is proprietary. And recently they found a bug in it, and everybody had to throw away their old YubiKeys and get new ones. There's a different type of key. It's called SoloKey, and I'll put a plug in for them right now, solokeys.com, that the hardware is open. They publish the circuit diagrams. They publish the software, and it works just the same way that YubiKey does, only better. And if something happens, you download a new copy of the software and put it right onto your own SoloKey. It's about the same price. Look it up. So here's another product that we can sell, and this is using Kodi. Most of you know the smart TVs you see there, they're all using Kodi as a front end, right? And so basically what they do is they have the hardware, and they're, I would say the word cheap, but cheap is the word, too cheap to go out and develop their own software, so they just use Kodi. That's fine. And they probably give some money to Kodi every once in a while to keep it going, but it can really create a really nice smart TV multimedia center. And now you add on top of that a little bit of software to do facial recognition or do video cam so that you can make sure that nobody's breaking into your apartment. If they come in through the door, it sends you a picture of the person coming in through the door. You can call the cops and alert them to come. And if you add some stuff on top of that, homeassistant.io, you can now control your whole house. And I have to lower my voice a little bit because the lights will start coming on in my house. I say, secret password, turn on the lights, and the lights come on. If I said the secret password, then not only would you know it, but all of a sudden the lights would come on in my house, and I don't want that to happen. You can control lots of stuff, and it also handles all the newest protocols, like Matter as a protocol of turning on devices. And now I have a Matter controlled air conditioner, a Matter controlled tea kettle. I can turn my tea kettle on from my bedroom, and then it tells me when the water's the right temperature so I can go in the kitchen and make tea. All of these things you can do with free software, okay? It's just putting it together. Here's something I did about 10 years ago at a trade show just to show people the types of facilities you'd have. And you start off small with a couple of PC speakers, right? You add a boomer box to it, you have, 2.1 stereo. But you can have 5.1 stereo, 7.1 stereo. It's not like the old analog days. Once it's digital, you can mix it and match it and stuff with a digital mixer. It can all be done by the Raspberry Pi. And there's hundreds of additional products that are just sitting out there waiting for people to figure out what the customers want to buy, how much are they going to pay for it, and how can I put it together. If anybody has any ideas for additional products, we can make another page for Project Caua, and you can collaborate with other people on how to put these things together and how you can all make money. And for all of this, how much do you think the students are going to pay to be able to do this? Anybody have an idea?
$100.
$100, man.
$400.
Lower. What? Oh, you win. Okay. Absolutely free. Okay. And it will be free forever. I have a business plan. I know what it is. So I'm not going to make, a lot of, in fact, I'm not going to make any money off of this. This is my gift to the community. But there will be enough money coming in to keep Project Caua going into the far future. And I know how to do that. So, how do you engage yourself with Project Caua? Well, first of all, every single thing on the website is going to be open. Nothing will be hidden. Everything. Business models, plans, everything. You don't even have to log in. You'll just be able to go to the website, go down to the website, download the software. All that's fine. However, if you want to interact with Project Caua, if you want to ask questions of people, if you want to need help from people, you're going to have to agree to a code of conduct. Because I'm tired of the internet being a bunch of foul-mouthed people who are unappreciative of whatever is done for them. And so if you're going to ask questions of people, you have to be polite. You have to say please and thank you when they do it, okay? That's not in the code of conduct, but if you start bad-mouthing people, you'll find your login account has gone so fast it'll make your head spin. And then we have a professional level. What does that mean? That means you have to be a professional. You have to show up on time. You have to honor your customer. You have to help them do the best they can for the lowest amount of money. That's what it means to be a professional. And you may have to help other people along the way. That's also part of being a professional. But if you are a professional, if you take the professional code of conduct, then you'll be able to get discounts on things like business insurance, discounts on books that you would buy, discounts on certifications necessary from various certification groups. So it'll be worthwhile for you, and you'll be able to use a Project Caua logo and business cards and things like that, and that does have value. And once again, if you violate the professional code of conduct and we find out about it, you'll be taken away. So optional for the professional is the discounted vouchers for Linux Professional Institute, which I used to be the board chair for. I stepped down last year, and insurance and other things. And we're going to have a community of professional Project Caua people, and these will be independent business people with their own companies. I keep saying that over and over again, because all the money that they make goes into their pocket. There are no stockholders. There's nothing like that. This is a true cooperative. And we're going to have a community of mentors, the same thing. Now, the mentors don't have to have technical expertise. That's not their job. The mentor is business expertise. It's organizational expertise. It's the things that the technical person doesn't necessarily get taught in a technical school. And people say, oh, Mad Dog, it's still going to cost me a lot of money to get this thing started. No, it's not. Not today. Because today you can buy these cheap computers. Now, notice I said 2 computers, one for mostly the Labrador is going to be for Brazil, Latin America, because they had horrendous import duties. Not that the U.S. would never have that, but the Raspberry Pi that we would purchase for $35 costs $20 to ship to Brazil, $5 for insurance. It hits customs at a $60 charge. Brazil would hit it with 100% duty, so it's $120. If you're going to sell it to somebody and make a little bit of money, street price was $150. And so one of the main reasons for buying a Raspberry Pi was it was a cheap computer that a high school student could afford. If they blew it up, nobody cared. At $150, you do care. And particularly when your GDP is about 2/3 that of the United States. So it's really more like $200. So we started manufacturing the Labrador in Brazil to try and have a more affordable single board computer for students. But more importantly, it was to find all the places that companies in Brazil could manufacture these and we would have a real computer industry inside of Brazil. So the software for today doesn't cost them anything. You could actually start off studying Odoo or studying any of these with an inexpensive Intel PC or leftover system. You don't need to buy the specialized hardware because Debian runs on everything. And if you need to buy the prototypes or you need to buy the hardware for your customer, that's where the contract says the customer buys the hardware and the Project Caua professional assembles it. So the Project Caua professional does not have to have any money up front to buy the hardware that the customer needs. The customer buys it. As far as marketing goes, these are local customers. So again, you go out to local business places to talk to them. You put little stickers up on bulletin boards and stuff like that. You talk about it in your church. You're a local person. They're helping somebody who's local. And as I said, the hardware purchases are the responsibility of the customer. The warranties for the hardware come from the company that sold it to them, and typically you get a year warranty on this stuff. You can also get friends and family to help you buy some of the initial expenses. People forget that because I had an uncle one time. He started his whole business about selling bonds to his family members. I'm starting this business. If you buy a bond from me in 5 years, I will pay you back everything you lent to me, and I'll pay you this much interest. And he did. And after 5 years, he owned the entire company. So when are we going to do this? Well, in the past, I've had several pilots. I've gone around for years talking about this idea, but in not as much detail as I'm talking to you right now. However, now we're going to start. This is the first time I've gone into this type of detail with this program, okay, here. And today, you can start to go out and start to look at the software that I've mentioned in all these different projects. You can start learning it, becoming familiar with it, because on January the 4th, we're going to launch the website. We're going to have specific details on each and every product and how to put it together step by step, where you can buy the hardware from, and you're welcome to buy it from any other place. We're not making any money off of that. And then we're going to do training at the University of Sao Paulo, which is where we have the Caninos Lucas program, on July the 5th. And hopefully we will have that video recorded also. We'll do a soft launch of the whole program on July the 6th. We'll start to put our mentors in. I've got several mentors lined up already. And a full launch on July the 8th. So if people come back and say, hey, I see some problems and stuff, we can correct it in the next couple of days. So this is democratic socialism, also known as employee-owned cooperatives. Not a single worldwide company with millions of employees and one CEO and shareholders, but millions of one or two people companies. Maybe you have a computer science person, a computer engineering person, and a business person coming together to form the company. They own it, and they are stakeholders in the company. With that, are there any questions or anything? Yes, sir.